now, ladies and gentlemen, let's kickstart the first panel discussion for the day. I'm happy to invite Dr. Saadi Qadra to moderate the panel on the Future Vision Realization Framework. Dr. Saadi leads consulting and capacity building service engagements for government and corporates through Advisors Group, with subsidiaries in Saudi and Egypt, and a network of partners covering over 10 countries of the MENA region. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Saadi to the stage.
One, two, three. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to be part of the Global Project Management Forum 2022. 2022 because this is the first one. We're already looking for 2023 and beyond. And of course, PMI, great team, supported by the Public Investment Fund. It's my privilege and responsibility to moderate a great topic on vision realization in the Kingdom. My mission is not easy. What can I say about great leaders joining us today? You have to excuse me, as I can say poetry, introducing each one of our panelists. But I'm compelled to be brief, and I apologize for that. I would like to welcome our esteemed panelists. The first one is Engineer Nabil Al-Dabal. He's the Transformation Office Head for the Ministry of Interior in Saudi Arabia. Engineer Nabil is ex-Vice President for Human Resources at Aramco. As a leader of the HR Transformation Committee, he implemented a global HR strategy that included training and development, workforce planning, recruitment, leadership and professional development, organizational consulting, and performance management. During his 30-plus years at Aramco, both in Saudi and overseas, Engineer Nabil was on the board of tens of organizations and participated in developing tens of organizations that had direct impact on hundreds of thousands in development and capacity building. Please welcome Engineer Nabil Dabal. Okay, it seems he's coming now. So, I would like second to welcome Engineer Thamer Al-Saadi. He's the Chief Executive Officer for the National Transformation Program. Engineer Thamer has over 20 years of experience in private and public sector. He began his career in Aramco for 15 years, during which he managed a number of vital and important projects. Then became an executive director at Delivery and Rapid Prevention Center for 2 years. He's also a board member at public and private entities. Please join me in welcoming Engineer Thamer Al-Saadi. Our third panelist is Engineer Faisal Al-Rabi, Vice President for Vision 2030, National Industrial Development and Logistics Program, Netherlands. Engineer Faisal oversees multiple admin areas, including energy, investment, 4IR, and planning and strategy. He serves at a number of committees at the national level and has over 15 years of work experience. Has held various managerial positions in Saudi Aramco and the Saudi government, both in the kingdom and overseas. Please join me in welcoming Engineer Faisal. Our fourth panelist is Engineer Abdullah Al-Khan. He's the Director for Standards and Procedures, Planning and Project Management, at the Expenditure and Project Efficiency Authority, Expo. Engineer Abdullah holds an extensive contracts and commercial experience in both the oil and gas and infrastructure project industry. He manages the Project Management Center of Excellence, extending across diverse technical and commercial sectors, with focus on the development and implementation of the national level project management manual and methodologies. Please join me in welcoming Engineer Abdullah. Our fifth panelist is Dr. Ricardo Vargas, which we just met. Dr. Ricardo, of course, he had years of experience in managing over 1,000 projects for the United Nations and was an ex-PMI chairman. Welcome, Dr. Ricardo, again. We'll have 4 rounds. Each panelist will provide their intervention on the topic, and then we move on. So in the first round, Vision 2030 is built around 3 overarching objectives. Ambitious nation, which is interpreted by achieving enhanced government, effectiveness, and enabling social responsibility. Thriving economy, realized by growing and diversifying the economy and increasing employment. Vibrant society is recognized by strengthening Islamic and national identity and offering a fulfilling and healthy life. I would like each esteemed participant to kindly enlighten us about a framework or a success story with your reflections from your own organization on one of these 3 overarching objectives. Please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. First, I'd like to thank PMI Saudi Arabia for this amazing event. And to relate to what Dr. Ricardo has delivered this morning, I think one of the success we have is the framework and the governance. So the governance now we have in place truly plays a key role in the success we have. We have seen many evidence on how Saudi Arabia tackled the challenges we saw, whether it's with food shortage, whether it is COVID pandemic. So that's a testimony to the governance we have in place, and VRPs are no exception. So that's the first point I wanted to refer to. As for the National Transformation Program, it has a wide scope, it has many areas and many themes. If I have to pick one success story, I would look at the e-government services. I think we have gone a long way. Some of the expats visited today, I hope you use the e-visa and have seen how efficient it is. Similarly, all of the other services we have now are available. E-medicine, telemedicine, you can have 120 services for the justice system, a trial online, etc. So that's one thing that I'm sure people in Saudi Arabia, whether Saudis or expats, can do most of their day-to-day activities with the government using their smartphones.
Thank you. Actually, this is great impact, great change. It took a lot of time to have a visa before, and now it's so easy. It's not easy to do, but it's easy now for people to utilize, and this by itself is great success. Engineer Dabal, can you kindly share also one of the success stories at MOI?
Thank you very much, Doctor. It's a pleasure to be here. There are many success stories in MOI. I think one of them that is touching on the people, whether locally or people who are visiting us abroad, is the advanced Abshir digital services, and the fact that we're trying to digitalize all points of entry to the country, trying to make it easy for the people. Also digitalize almost all services that MOI provides. So hopefully no longer you need to go to the office. Hopefully everything, and depends where you are in the world, you could get it done remotely via the applications or other digital services. And this is a long-term journey. Just, I would say, see the scratch of these services. So moving forward, there will be a lot of data-led applications that MOI will start implementing, and also the decisions that MOI will be making will be based on data-led and also based on risk of matrices that you'll be using. So I would say digital is definitely a big enabler for MOI. In the social responsibility part, and this is extremely important, we have plans where we get the community involved. And when I say the community is Saudis, expats, everyone. I'm sure you heard about things called Kulluna Aman, which means the Mu'atan will play a big role on keeping this country very safe and very secure. So the way forward, you will see a lot of engagement, I would say, with the community, and also in sectors such as civil defense, where best practices in the world, they hire about only 30% of their workforces, and the rest are volunteers. So, and this is done in the US and other places. So this is in line where the country is moving forward, is to have a lot of volunteers that play, I would say, vital roles in keeping the country safe and secure.
Well, this is amazing because you are increasing the social responsibility and the engagement. And instead of policing, okay, you are utilizing the data, using systems, and providing even better services than before. Thank you. Engineer Faisal, can you please share with us the success story from Netherlands?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Dr. Sadi. I'm extremely honored to be part of this esteemed panel. Of course, the National Industry and Development Program, or NIDLIP for short, does contribute to the three main pillars of Vision 2030. But our main focus areas is growing and diversifying the economy. Of course, we oversee the transformation of four vital sectors: energy, mining, industry, and logistics. And if you'd allow to share success stories, one out of each of the very vibrant sectors within the kingdom. In terms of energy, and all of these achievements are only enabled by Vision 2030. Starting from 7.1 gigawatts worth of projects in renewables for energy, two of which are operational right now. One of them is actually the biggest in the region. Number two, for mining, we launched the biggest geological survey in the world to survey and explore the Arabian Shield area. In terms of logistics, we keep making records. We went in terms of custom clearance, from an average of 288 hours to 2 hours. And we keep basically integrating the continents where we are situated in between, and basically smashing and quantum leaping in all of the metrics locally and internationally. In terms of industry, we have built 4,000 factories in the last 5 years because of the vision, which takes us normally, pre-vision, 15 years to build the same number of factories. So all of these, and these are only glimpses of yet many more achievements to come, and they are all because of having a clear vision, and they are enabled by a complete environment that enables accomplishments and progress across the field.
Thank you. So actually, diversifying from oil and gas, and as well providing more localization, and at the same time the supply chain problem in the whole world, we realized that, and we've seen that it affected Saudi much less than many other countries due to what you've been doing among others. Thank you. Now, Engineer Abdullah, you have a different perspective because Expo has a different role. Can you enlighten us about one of the success stories?
Sure, Dr. Sadi. Thank you everyone for having us here. It's my absolute honor to sit before you, our respected guests, and among elite leaders in the kingdom. I will take this opportunity to enlighten you about the role that Expo has in the government and how we support the government in parking the Vision 2030. We've all heard the Excellency, Engineer Abdullah Al-Karim, yesterday show us the interconnection between change management and project management. And we think for ourselves at Expo, a change agent in the government sector, that we help the government entities to do things differently in the future, that will help them to uplift the standards and procedures and how they achieve better project management, facility and asset management, and government procurement efficiencies. And those three are the pillars that consist of our business unit in Expo. And for each of those pillars, we have a methodology that support the government entities to move from their status quo and adapt a new methodology that help to realize its potential in a better manner. I will be speaking more of the project management sector, obviously, today, and tell you how we support the government in those levels and what are the best success stories so far. When we work in the government with government entities in regarding to their project management, in general, we touch two different layers. The first one is when we work with them in the portfolio level. We engage with them in preparing the project portfolio for a 5-year plan. We study the project within the portfolio and set priority among them and help them to execute in a manner that is best to the kingdom and assurance of quality and intention of the project. The second level is when we support the government entities at the project level itself. And that happens when a certain project in need of support, and then we engage to work with all involved stakeholders to support and help the progress to accelerate to achieve the final milestone of any project, which is the operating and finally benefit from the assets. All of those type of engagement are founded based on our major success story, which is the launch of the National Project Management Manual, which took place 3 weeks ago. The National Project Manual is a very comprehensive document that includes all the functions a project manager will need through planning, then designing and executing, and finally handing over after testing the project. Not only the usual disciplines and technical engineering requirement is included, but also many overlooked disciplines. As Jennifer yesterday in her speech mentioned a trend that happens in the project management sector globally, which is the sustainability aspect. Believe it or not, sustainability and many other disciplines and functions included in the project manual as a vital role to help any project manager in the full cycle of project management, starting from the planning until the final stage of the project. Another success story is the launch of the stage gate process, which we developed. That is a process with 8 gates, helps the project managers and the owner of the project to move the project from one stage to another based on the requirement and the ecosystem that allows it within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The ultimate benefit of this manual is that it's not only beneficial to the owner or the government entity, but also the contractor will benefit from it, the project management consultant, the designer, and they're continuing to improve this document with providing more templates ready to be used and executed in the project.
So, how very smart. By enhancing best practices, in due time, you will not need to do too much control on spending expenditure. Because when you follow these, you should succeed more. Number one. Two, I really admire that you publish that for free. And now, not only Saudi ministries and PROs and VRPs can benefit. Anybody in the world, any other government can download and benefit from your experience. And you offer that for free. This is really sharing knowledge with the whole world.
True, because project management is not only as good as the project owner itself. We want to uplift the private sector as well. We want them to be up to speed with the way we want to execute our project in the government sector. So it is very important for us that the manual is published, the designers of those projects are aware of how we will execute our design and have them on the ground on site as well. Because we cannot succeed if the private sectors or our stakeholders are not ready to execute it as well.
Thank you.
You're
Now,
most welcome.
Ricardo. Thank you. Ricardo, I kept you to the end, and you managed 1,000 projects for your end. Can you beat that?
Yeah, it's first what I hear here. I don't have too much to add to these brilliant stories, but I want just us to reflect on some points. The first thing is that the nature of project management is changing. It's changing from something like thinking about the deadline or the scope to moving far above and beyond to the benefit and the value realization. And this is shaping a completely different landscape that goes much further. One example I want to use on my life during my work at the UN is that many times you may ask me, because I led infrastructure works, and you may ask me, why will the UN build hospitals, roads, and this kind of thing? Why not a private construction? Because one of the absolutely key pillars of every single work we did was to develop national capacity. It was not just to finish fast, quickly, but it was the use of the local community to rebuild. For example, when we rebuilt Haiti after the earthquake, 98% of the people working on the reconstruction of the houses in Haiti were the people that would live on that homes. So we teach them a new work, and this was as important as the work itself. So this is why I'm saying that when we see all these examples of success, when you speed up or you add technology, for example, we must see beyond, because these are the transformative nature of projects, is to go on this step. It's not just the construction, it's not just the new system, but is the change in the behavior of the population, is giving them different opportunities to revisit the future.
Thank you, Dr. Ricardo. It's all about impact, all about the people. Now, before we move to the next point, I believe Engineer Labal has a special comment. Can you please share it with us?
Hello? Yeah. I just want to share an example that MOI has done with Expo. And I truly want to compliment Expo. I think they are pioneers in the world. And what they have done so far is something, in my humble view, to be taught all over the world. The reason I'm saying this, because we had a lengthy exercise with Expo in all MOI projects and assets. And it's no secret that MOI probably, if not the biggest in the kingdom, probably has one of the biggest assets in the kingdom and projects. And we have used the methodology that Expo introduced, and our assets and projects were extremely complicated. Today we're done with the exercise with the Expo, and it was truly team effort. It was one team. Today we have a very advanced dashboard where I can tell you the status of every single facility of MOI in Saudi Arabia in terms of capacity. For example, is it 20% or is it 90%? And if we have to build new projects, the advanced dashboard will advise us whether to go ahead and build a new project or no. You need to optimize your portfolio. And I cannot tell you how useful it has been for us. And according to Expro, MOI is probably the most complex ministry in terms of assets and projects. And they say now we use this as an example for other ministries. We say since it's been successful with MOI, we need to do the same with others. And I think they're great partners. They have helped us so much. And actually, thanks to their help, now we have a strong justification to MOF to justify our future projects, because it's always based on very structured approach. So in a way, by the time it gets to MOF, it has already been vetted and has gone through the process that Expo have created. So my compliments, and I encourage everyone to partner with Expo.
I think this is a beautiful success story that has to be shared.
If you allow me, I will thank you for your recognition. I might mention the manual as our success, but truly our work with the government entities, our partners, is what's really going to impact the benefits. And Minister of Interior, with no doubt, is one of the best success stories in many files that we work together. We have a team that is dedicated collectively with the resources of the ministry, working closely to manage different aspects and work stream with them. And the benefits has already came to surface. And it's really flattered to hear this from the owner of those projects itself. So thank you very much, and that will be a very drive for others to start unpacking the benefit of the national manual.
Do you know what I'm saying here today? You've reached sustainability. You invested a lot of effort and time and money on building something like this. But the benefits would come for years and years to come, to the extent that all the effort becomes negligible with respect to the gain that you achieve. And this is true sustainability. I really admire that. So by that, let's go to the second point. And the Vision Realization Office combines strategic planning, portfolio management, public relations and media, performance management, transformation leadership. Proudly, this is 100% made in Saudi Arabia. Now, my question, how efficient and effective are the various vision realization offices working and collaborating with your organization? Please share a challenge that you have been able to overcome or in the process. And I'd like to start with Engineer Faisal.
Thank you, Dr. Saadi. I believe it's not particular to the VROs or Vision Realization Offices only, but everything in every aspect within Vision 2030. The biggest challenge, which is also an opportunity, by the way, is that it is unprecedented. Meaning, it was never attempted before, at least at this scale and this magnitude. So there is no guideline, there is no manual on how to transform a country for dummies. So the way we approach it is basically we have to learn as we go. In the process, we do make a lot of mistakes. By doing mistakes, it's maybe not the most efficient way to learn and to develop, but it is by far the most effective. And thus, we are basically carving our way. We are finding on how to really transform the country and building it from scratch. We are hopefully in the very near future to be, and this is where the opportunity shines, because actually copying other countries, every country is unique, and copying success stories from other countries is not necessarily applicable for our country. And by the end of the process, and very soon, we would be definitely pioneering a transformation at that scale and be the leaders, and we can teach others to follow through and follow our footsteps in terms of such a transformation.
I'm sure lots of lessons learned.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Engineer Nabil, would you like to share a challenge?
Yeah, I think the whole concept of VRO has been a great addition to the country. Personally, I saw it when I came to MOI transformation program and how the VRO will help us in terms of quality of life, جودة الحياة, in terms of Hajj and Umrah, which will have a huge expansion in Saudi Arabia, and other services where truly we want the residents, Saudi or expats, to feel that this is their home, to feel safe when they walk at night, to really put the customer ahead of our services, and to ensure that the feeling from the entry point in the airports all the way to the country, they feel like this is the country I want to invest in, and this is the country I want to come and visit. Easy services, like I mentioned earlier, digital services. So we have a number of initiatives on the VRO side, and I truly think they will advance MOI in the future, and they will make our life much easier.
Thank you. Truly, Saudi Arabia is greatly hospitable, and it invites organizations to come in and invest and join. A place to be, huh? Engineer Thamer, can you please share with us a challenge? They say if you want to make an enemy, go and change something. And you're changing the country, okay? No enemies here, but lots of challenges, because changing the culture is not easy. What have you changed?
Definitely, to be able to achieve the ambitious targets we have, it's key that you have full collaboration of everybody in the ecosystem, whether it's the VROs and the ministries, the initiative owners, the VRPs, supporting entities, but also equally important, the private sector and NGOs are also key partners to achieve the targets we have set. We come through challenges every now and then. We are so fortunate that we have unlimited support from our leadership. If I will mention one, I remember in 2016, where the vision was launched in April, National Transformation Program was launched in June 2016. The VROs were established a few months after that. And the targets were, and still are, very ambitious. And we noticed, working with the vision realization offices, is that there are challenges relating to going on the same speed that we need to do with the old government procurement law. Part of the NTP, we had an initiative with Ministry of Finance to rewrite the law. However, that we need a solution today. And this is where we worked with the VROs. We did an assessment, we presented to our leadership, and we got a royal decree exempting the National Transformation Program, and then eventually the rest of the vision realization programs from the old procurement law, and that enabled us to move on the speed to achieve the ambitious targets. We do come with similar challenges, and with the unlimited support we have, we overcome these challenges.
Thank you. So trying to transform different entities, each one has their own speed and their own maturity, is not easy. It's like telling a professor to teach one class where he has master students and just sophomore students at the same time. It's really complex, really hard, will require a lot of customization for every specific entity. And this leads me to Expro's perspective on that, Engineer Abdul.
Well, I don't want to limit myself to the challenges and communication between the VROs, but we work with multiple stakeholders, government entities, NGOs, and private sectors. The ultimate objective here is to create a safe environment for project management. And by this I mean an environment that really can flourish in project management and impact the quality of a project delivered for the citizens of Saudi Arabia. And we work closely with the multiple stakeholders. They are entities as a project owners, they have a lesson learned and some examples of challenges. We work with the regulatory bodies in the government who sets regulation that could affect the progress of a project. We hear from the NGOs and the private sectors, and we benchmark our internal and local practices with the international ones. Try to see the gaps and amend whatever we can to achieve a better environmental place for project management, or even propose some of the changes or new policies that really help and promote the project management level within Kingdom. Yesterday, the Saudi Contractor Authority have mentioned multiple initiatives that they've engaged in, and we've worked closely with them. The last one is the Standing Committee for Contractor Improvement, and it is headed by His Excellency Majid Al-Hugayr. And this committee mainly focuses on improving the sector overall. It includes members from different sectors, being government and non-government, regulatory and project owner itself. The committee has came up with a list of challenges, and every challenge is linked to an owner who really can influence or affect this challenge, or minimize it, or at least try the best to remove it in the best scenario. So the work of this committee is to come up with different initiatives that try to minimize the negative impact and all the challenges that prevent both private sector to enter the kingdom, to come and be part of this economical transaction between the national and non-governmental sectors, and the project owner as well to improve their quality of the project. Maybe there are many other examples as well. We engage with the Ministry of Investment, Ministry of Finance, and many others. And maybe an example is that we understand by listening and sitting with many of the NGOs and the private sectors is their concerns about the law and the regulation, how they're protected when they enter into transaction with the government, especially when they try to come from abroad to the kingdom. We work closely with the Ministry of Finance to always update and improve the procurement regulation, try to have a safe haven for all this private sector. We know the best practice in the international community when it comes to project management, how they are executed, and we try to embed those soul and sense of globally known contractual methodologies in the government contracts as well. And we've seen the benefit of it, and it's already, many of them has already seen the light under the new procurement regulation and affecting how businesses are applying the same standards and methodology they apply to leading industry companies in Kingdom or in the region or internationally with government entities.
Well, this leads me to a question to Ricardo. Usually, private sector is ahead of many government organizations because they are paid by making profit. So if there is an idea that makes profit, they invest and they do it. Okay? The governance is easy there. But when it comes to government, it's very hard to change. What do you think about this model, which is really unique, where the government is leading both the private sector, people, individuals, and the non-for-profit?
Yeah, I think what is the main difference between doing this kind of initiative with the private sector and the public sector is exactly what you just said before we start the second round. Most of the time, the benefits are these transformative projects are in the long run. And most of the private organizations, they really to bring profit and returns in the short run. So they don't think what may happen in 20, 30, and 40 years. So by bringing these two together, you bring in some ways this nimbleness and this speed to deliver fast that comes from this mindset of the private sector with the long-term vision of the government. So you try to mix these two. And when I think about the complexity of this kind of benefit, is that it's easy in some ways to measure delay, to measure cost overruns, but it's not very easy to measure benefits. First, they are not necessarily as tangible and as evident, the relation between cause and effect on each of them, because they transform the society in this. It's not very easy for you to create a KPI or an OKR that measures clear that standard. And the second one, it's because they are so long-term that they are subject to so many volatilities. It is very so hard for you to predict a behavior in 10, 20 years. We just got this recently with COVID that changed everything, with the block, the Suez Canal, the same. So it's not very easy to do that. And this kind of partnership tries to bring together the best of two worlds, the strong intention of public sector with these, I would say, in a good term, ambition and nimbleness of the private sector.
Thank you, Ricardo. You just answered the third question. The massive transformation is raising the challenge in a continuous manner. Successful initiatives, programs, and projects are no more measured by traditional KPIs, just like we were saying, for completion. The focus is shifting towards results, achievements, sustainable benefits, and impact. Now, how is your program or organization implementing and transforming the culture of managing benefits rather than mere deliverables, and focusing on strategy implementation rather than mere crafting? Can we start with you, Engineer Tamer, please? With you? Yes, please.
First of all, I totally agree with you that benefit realization is extremely important. We are so fortunate that the people working in the National Transformation Program and in general the Vision programs are talented Saudis who have the passion, who are qualified to carry these important initiatives and targets. We make sure that we don't rely only on KPIs that does not measure the benefit realization. And if I give you one example, it's not enough to know how many services you have transformed from paper to be electronic. Maybe you transfer it to be an e-service, but then the customer has a more difficult experience. So the end in mind is that you want to have a smooth experience, good experience for the beneficiary, and that's why I agree benefit realization is key. Any initiative that is complete, we make sure that we measure the benefit realization. Selecting the KPIs itself, we make sure that we have a healthy mix between local KPIs, international KPIs, leading indicators, lagging indicators. So that healthy mix will give us a complete picture. Also, it is important that we put lots of effort in the execution. Good plans are important, are essential, but I believe also that let's say 90% of the energy goes into execution and getting things done. Last but not least, also that we want to make sure that the changes that are happening are irreversible, that we make a lasting impact. So, regardless of changing of people, initiatives completion, that these are irreversible.
I believe successes are irreversible. Why? When you try something and see how efficient it is, how it makes your life become better, you never want to go back. Okay? Neither as individual nor as organization. Thank you. Engineer Nabil. Now, I know MOI is so huge and it covers every single meter of the kingdom, from border to border. So, it's not easy to focus on benefits and implementation. But you're doing that somehow. Can you enlighten us?
Yeah, first allow me to disagree with you a little bit. I think it was extremely important exercise to get to the KPI stage for the country, then you move it to the benefits objective. I think the exercise that the country has gone through the last 6 years, pretty much performance driven, pretty much KPI driven, was extremely important to change the thinking of the decision makers in the country. And I think the fact that we started to compare international KPIs, the perception about the country, how do we compare against, at least for us, other MOIs in the UK, in the US, where do we rank? And it's okay if you rank low, so long that you address it and you address the challenges and you move forward. Now, on the second part, I think it's extremely important, as you have rightly mentioned, that the objective realization is extremely important. In MOI, I must say, we're blessed with His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz, where anything his leaders bring to his table, he transfers it to us immediately, and he has like a standard question, always. Is it in line with our strategy? So the strategy has already been endorsed. Long term, we know where we're heading, and this will be like a standard. Every day I get this request, anything that comes to his desk. He wants to make sure it's aligned with our strategy, and it's not like a short-term solution. And also, I must say, we're blessed because he is always pro-transformation. So whenever we give the recommendation, so far he always blessed our recommendation because he wants to make sure it's aligned with the strategy. So that's how you ensure it's aligned with the long-term strategy. Otherwise, as you know, sectors are their own. They look at things different. In some cases, they want to inflate their organization or their resources or others, but it's always spot on. And many times, we have our opinion, which is different because it's along the strategy, and this is how the governance has been working so far.
You reminded me, the famous Sun Tzu, what he said. Strategy without tactics is the slowest path to success. Tactics without strategy is just noise before defeat. Now, you do have the strategy, but you don't have the slowest path to success because you are running. Okay, you have the strategy and you have the tactics. And I really admire the pragmatism because looking at one's own reality is something very essential. And when you see that, even great objectives that are not reached in the science of managing benefit. It's an avatar or a proxy or indicator that this will come soon, inshallah. Engineer Faisal, can you tell us your point of view?
Yes, I cannot add much more to what Rabin and Tamer has already. They covered most of my points. But nevertheless, I would like to basically talk about the last point when we talk about the transition between strategy and execution. For Idlib, we were built on 15 plus strategies, that is inclusive of the 4 main strategies of the 4 main sectors in terms of national strategies, mining, industry, and logistics, and energy. But surprisingly, the vision and the good part, it's not strategy focused, but it's rather execution focused. The main document we live by and we work with is a delivery plan, which is absolutely comprehensive because it contains all the initiatives that cascaded from the strategies. They were all, of course, added. There's a timeline, there's a specific budget, there's a specific scope, and there's a specific accountability, and there are specific metrics. We go for approval on our delivery plan, and then we execute accordingly. Now, the delivery plan or our execution plan does indeed cover everything that is mentioned under the umbrella of the new cliche of what they call the science of deliverability. So I would say we mastered it. We have of course, independent support organizations such as Expro and ADA, keeping us in check when it comes to budget and of course, performance. We have a robust metric performance management system, and then a very robust performance dialogue that happens on quarterly basis with the highest authority in the kingdom, actually discussing the progress against all of the Vision 2030 objectives. So having this actually served us complete to have a sort of a bulletproof process to execute all the strategies that were crafted.
Thank you. Interestingly enough, we find silos all over the world, but the Vision 2030 was not developed to build silos, but rather what you're talking about is like one story. Each one is telling a piece of the story, because at the top, it's one vision. Now for Expros, and they told me to be brief. I'm sorry, we have like 10 minutes.
I promise you to be very brief. I can't add much of what has been said. One way to do it is, as Stephen Governor said, start with the end in mind and think of a project as a solution of something or a gap that you need to fulfill. What is the economical impact of this project, and what is the social impact you need to achieve or you want to attain? Plus, and most importantly, the strategy as we mentioned. How is this project linked to the strategy that you have? We've worked as a central entity with multiple government entities as a project owners, but we also work in parallel with the 13 Emirates within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And these Emirates building their own regional strategy based on the strength that they have. Some of them will go as an industrial region, some are focusing on tourism and many other sectors. We want to ensure the strategy developed by those regions are included in the portfolio of the government entity who will execute them. So the final and beneficiary of those are the demand creator itself as the region themselves, which will feed out to the ultimate strategy of the country. I hope I was very clear and quick for you.
One question about portfolio management, and they ask what is the most important thing. And some would say selection, alignment, etc. They're all important. But the answer to that question is knowing which initiatives to kill. Because when you have a clear alignment, when you know what you want to achieve, and have the courage to stop something that does not align to the strategy, it takes courage, not easy. This is where we find success. Ricardo, your thoughts, please.
I just want to add one point, is that you will get what you measure. And why I'm saying this, we need to be very mindful on how we build the KPIs, the OKRs, because these will drive people to get to that result. And we need to be very mindful on what is the value we want to realize to move that. And my second comment, it's exactly on what you just said. There is a famous quote that I want to finish here about selection and courage to stop things. And there is a quote saying, the first thing you need to do when you are inside a hole is stop digging. So when things are really going to the right direction, you need to be brave to stop, assume, and refocus. And this is my final message.
For our last round, I'd like each one of our esteemed panelists to tell us about how you envision the role of your organization in what's upcoming next. Please.
I think building capabilities on the organizations is extremely important. And I want to send a message. We have many consultants here, experts. We do a lot of business in Saudi Arabia and we're working as one team. But honestly, if I may request it, that all consultants need to focus on transferring the knowledge to the Saudis. And I'll be very honest. Look how much money the country has spent. And consultants, not all, in some cases they will say, well, we transfer the knowledge, your team work with us, etc., etc. But there has to be a way to measure this transfer knowledge. There has to be some sort of KPIs to ensure that the knowledge is transferred to Saudis. And in our contracts in MOI, now this is becoming mandatory, transfer the knowledge, and as consultant you get assessed on your methodology and approach, so it could bring you down or up. I think there's a huge opportunities to build this know-how. And from my experience, my humble experience, Saudis are just as good as anybody else in the world. Today you go to San Jose, you see many Saudis, established companies, very successful. In Saudi Arabia, many startups that have been done by Saudis. My previous experience, when we send Saudis to top schools, Harvard, Stanford, and others, they become top in the school. So I know for a fact that we have what it takes. And I kindly ask the consultants to work with all sectors. So building capabilities is important. Another resources that we should utilize, which I'm glad PMI is focusing on, is the empowerment of women. There is so much potential of Saudi females, just like the males, that they can add a lot of value. This is well known in many research all over the world. And again, Saudi females are just as capable, if not capable. Personally, I have always been extremely proud of what females can add to the organization, and we have some of our young females today with us. But I truly think we need to focus also on these untapped resources, not to just say we increase the females. We will, I'm sure they are very capable females. So there is a huge opportunity, and thanks to Engineer Badr and the rest of the team for focusing in PMI for female empowerment, because truly with the technologies and stuff they can add a lot of value. Finally, I think there is always flavor that the Saudis can build on our strong culture to make our country a pioneer in the future.
Thank you. In the afternoon, we have a panel on women empowerment and youth enablement and project management. And believe me, I attended the dry runs. They are so good with the extent, stop, I want now men empowerment. That's another thing. You reminded me of a video, 5 minutes video I did several years back, which is called, "What do we do if we teach them and they take our place?" Well, my advice, you should teach them. They should take your place. And if you teach people, nobody takes your place. Okay. Exactly. Thank you. Engineer Tam.
So definitely we have a clear plan. I invite those of you interested to know more on the Vision website. We have our delivery plan, the National Transformation Program plan from 2021 to 25. Today we stand that we are happy that many of the targets, in fact, some of the Vision targets for 2030 has been overachieved. You were just talking about women empowerment. We went a long way, from about 17% in the task force, and the Vision 2030 target was 30% in 2030. That was overachieved last year. Not only also the percentage, but also we have KPIs to look at that. Women participation in the leadership roles. We did a program with the Ministry of Labour and Human Resources and Princess Nora with INSEAD, where more than 1,000 leaders, female leaders, were trained. So that's one example, but also when we talk about the digital economy, I'm happy that Saudi Arabia last year was the number 2 among G20. It talks about digital competitiveness and digitalizers report, ease of doing business, etc. So we have a clear plan. We are on track to achieve our 2025 targets. The vision, definitely Vision 2030 is our North Star, and that's what we will work accordingly when the time, when we arrive to the time that we will do our plans from 26 to 2030, inshallah. Thank you.
The beautiful thing about programs is that once they succeed, they leave something larger than them that is sustainable. But they open the appetite as well for even a higher level, which will require more even programs or an extension or version 2 or 3 of the same program. Now, Engineer Faisal, what closing remarks you can give us?
I totally agree with what you said. I'm not sure, of course, I'm not sure if we will have beyond 2030, say, organization in terms of shape and form. Probably it will morph into something that is more fitting for the times. But nevertheless, the most important note here is the concrete lesson that we learned. And the most important is beyond the organization, is the actual vision. And us, we realized concretely that we are not limited, and this is the famous quote, by the way, we are not limited by our ability, but we are limited by our vision. We understood it, we realize it, and I refer back to Ricardo saying that we will definitely have having a vision, a North Star, a clear direction is what drives everything under it. So we will have definitely after 2030, we will have 2040 and then 2050 and then 2060. And this is the difference between a successful nation and a nation that will not succeed. But we will always, one thing concrete, we will always have long-term planning and always a vision.
Okay, thank you. Engineer Abdullah, what closing remarks do you have for us?
Well, you asked about what we want to achieve in the near future, and for Expo, we want to create a clear value chain, and that value chain should not be owned and operated only solely by Expo itself. When an idea comes up, it goes through multiple stages, and in every stage there are alternative paths and multiple stakeholders. And we want to design this framework where an idea started and what are the entities need to be done, some studies of it, social studies, economical studies, and then it will move to a different chain in the value. And now how it's going to be funded. Is it going to be private sector fund? Is it going to be funded by the public fund or mutually funded? How it will be operated after the assets being developed? And all those functions in the value chain has to be cleared as a full framework that helps the decision making in the kingdom, knows the start and the end of an asset at a very early stage, and knows all the stakeholders, and knows all the possibility and alternatives possible way to execute and operate those assets. So this is something that we were working on, and closely with multiple stakeholders that involved in different stages of a project. But in this value chain, it will give us clear vision of total ownership cost, time frame, quality to be achieved, impact, and also strategy that it will fill as an asset.
Wallahi, this is one of the most challenging things in the world, to get this integration to work until you have like an orchestra that's playing a beautiful symphony without even the orchestrator. Okay, and I believe we're gonna reach there, inshallah, with the whole efforts and success. Ricardo.
Yeah, I have been in more than 80 countries and I have seen all sorts of projects, but I need to be really honest. I have never, ever seen something like what I'm seeing today. And you all know I'm really passionate about transforming ideas to reality. And I just want to thank Bart for the opportunity to be here because I was here 3 years ago and I can see clear the transformation. And just my final message is for the Saudis here in this audience. There has never been a better time to be Saudi here and now. So thank you very much for the opportunity to learn with you in these 4 days. And I hope I can meet you all in the short future to see all these benefits becoming a reality. Thank you.
Inshallah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry that what you've seen is only the tip of the top of the iceberg, because the reality of what's going on here is much, much larger than the huge successes we've seen today. I'm very privileged and honored to be with you. Thank you very much. Please join me in thanking our esteemed panelists. Have to take a picture.
Thank you indeed, our panelists and panel moderator.
Expo.